What's up, guys? So UFC 297 Strickland versus Plessis just took place, and we have a new champion of the world. We also have a new bantamweight champion of the world, Raquel Pennington, if that means anything to you, because it doesn't mean anything to me. But the rest of the card was alright. It was a solid card. There were some boring fights. There were some fun fights. There were some interesting scorecards. And yeah, all round a decent card. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't super fun, but it definitely got brought back to a higher level with the main event. But let's get started with the first fight on the card, and it was Malcolm Gordon versus Jimmy Flick. So Malcolm Gordon, I picked him to win. He was clearly better than Jimmy Flick in this fight. He was causing him problems early on the feet. He even took Jimmy Flick down. Flick had some close submission attempts from bottom in the first round, but Gordon managed to stay out of him pretty well. And then in the second round, Gordon came out. He was way quicker. He was tuning him up on the feet. Looked like he could have probably even got a standing TKO. But then, unfortunately, he just had to be retarded and slip over and get his back taken and get subbed with an arm triangle like a minute into the second round. So Malcolm Gordon, fight IQ cost him this fight. I do think he was better, and picking him was definitely warranted, but fair play. Jimmy Flick got it done with the grappling. And then post-fight, he said that he's got Khabib level wrestling and Maya level jiu-jitsu. So interesting stuff from Jimmy Flick. Calm down, little bro. You got TKO'd by Charles Johnson, so shush. But the next fight on the card was Jasmine Jasudavicius versus Pracsilla Cachoeira. This was a great fight. Dominant one-way traffic for Jasmine Jasudavicius. She won the first round 10-8 on all three judges' scorecard. She won the second round 10-8 on two judges' scorecard, and then 10-7 on Sal Diamato's scorecard, based Sal Diamato. And then she got a submission in the third round. But this was dominant one way. It was all Jasmine Jasudavicius. In the third round, Pracsilla had a few moments on the feet, and it looked like Jasmine might have been gassing out a little bit, but all round she got it done. She was dominating. I kind of wanted it. I was streaming for the prelims, and I wanted it to go to a decision because I wanted to just hear 30-24 read out, because that would have made me very happy. But yeah, great stuff. Based referee as well, letting it go, letting her be a warrior. Just letting Pracsilla get beaten up because she missed weight again, and she's a cheating bitch, and I hate her. And she also walked out to the Korean Zombie song, so that's what you get. Fuck you. But the next fight on the card, Sam Patterson versus Yohan Laness, and this was a great win for Sam Patterson. Yohan Laness was terrible. He did awful in this fight. He was one of many Canadians that did terrible on this card. So yeah, he came out. I thought he was gonna catch Patterson with a big overhand, but turns out he didn't want to stand with the guy that got chinned in his last fight brutally. He instead wanted to engage in the clinch with a much larger, much taller opponent that has a good submission game. He got caught, he got front headlocked, got snapped down, and then Patterson got around to the back and got a rear naked choke very soon into the first round. Great win for him. Turned it around because he had a bit of a disappointing debut in England when he got KO'd, and then this time, good job. He beat Yohan Laness, who, let's be honest, Yohan Laness ain't very good because he lost to Mike Malott, and we saw how Mike Malott did later on the card. But we move on to the next fight, and it was Gillian Robertson versus Polyana Viana. Great performance from Gillian Robertson. She got a submission in the second round. No, not a submission, a TKO in the second round for Gillian Robertson. But I picked her to get a win. She won pretty comfortably, to be honest. Polyana Viana just didn't have any grappling defense. She didn't know what she was doing on the ground, and she just got kind of beaten up. This wasn't nearly as bad, obviously, as Jasudavicius Cachoeira, but it was kind of looking like it might have gone that way. Like, she was throwing a lot of ground and pound, and this referee, unlike the other one, was like, yeah, no, this Viana doesn't need to take as much damage as Cachoeira. We can look at the two of their faces, and we don't want to ruin Viana's face. So, based refereeing, he knows what he's doing, saving Viana from taking a bunch of unnecessary damage and ruining her OnlyFans career. So, good stuff. Gillian Robertson gets it done. She got a performance bonus as well, so fair play. Her and Jasudavicius were the only two Canadians on the card to get wins. All the other dudes just fucking lost because they suck. So, the next fight on the card, though, was Ramon Taveras versus Sergey Sidey. This was a great fight, and one of the fights I got right on the card. There weren't a lot of them, to be honest. It was not a good night on picks for me, but great stuff from Ramon Taveras to get a split decision win. It was very close. Yeah. Sergey City, I knew it was going to be a close fight, like, after the fight ended, though. Because Ramon Taveras won the first round clearly. He dropped Sergey City right at the end badly, and clearly won the first round. So there's no debate about that. The second round was very interesting because he also dropped Sergey City early-ish in the second round. It was a pretty clear knockdown, not like a slip or anything like that. Pretty clear knockdown. But then, for the rest of round 2, Sergey City was just running him down and just pressuring him back and landing way better shots for the rest of the round. So, it was a very interesting kind of scorecard of like, do you credit the forward pressure and the constant output of City, or do you credit the actual one big shot, like the big knockdown that landed? Because that was the only knockdown of the round. But then the third round, another judge scored that for City, even though I thought that was a clear... So a judge scored that for Taveras. I thought that was a clear City round. So very interesting scorecard. A little bit all over the place. They are now 1-1. They had a controversial stoppage in their first fight, a controversial decision in their second. I got a feeling if these two both stick around in the UFC, we probably might as well just see it get ran back one more time, the trilogy, just for the sake of it. So, good win from Ramon Taveras. Close fight, but he gets it done. The next fight on the card was Sean Woodson versus Charles Jourdain. This was a painful fight to watch. This was just not fun at all to watch. Sean Woodson won a split decision. Probably shouldn't have been split. He won the fight, but Charles Jourdain could not get past the reach. Sean Woodson, forget Sean the Sniper Woodson. His nickname should be Sean the Alien Woodson or Sean the Slender Man Woodson, because this guy has the weirdest build. He's like 6'2". He's got a 78-inch reach. His hands are down by his knees. It's just such an odd build this guy has. So Sean Woodson, very interesting fella, but he's not that good. He just coasts a lot. He uses his reach because it's fucking difficult to get past like an 8-inch reach advantage. So Jourdain was a definite range disadvantage there. He shot a few takedowns. He got a couple takedowns, I guess. He had a guillotine attempt towards the end of the third round, which I was hoping he would get, but he didn't. And yeah, the scorecards are the interesting, funny part of this was they read out the scorecards, and they read the scorecard for... No, they read it for Sean Woodson, but it sounded like when Buffer said it, he didn't say it super clearly, so it sounded like Charles. Like, it meant to say like Sean, but it sounded like Charles, and so the ref raised Jourdain's hand, and then DC's like, Woodson won the fight, like, he heard. So yeah, Buffer announced the wrong name, he announced the right name, the referee raised the wrong hand, so it was a pretty clear win for Woodson, but he's not good, he doesn't have a future in the sport. If you aren't dominating people or completely schooling guys with a 9-inch reach advantage, then there's just no hope for you. So yeah, the next fight on the card, it was a terrible fight though, very boring. Me and my chat were going off our heads raging during this fight because it sucked. But the next fight was Brad Katona vs Garrett Armfeild. This was another not a split decision. This went unanimous for Garrett Armfeild. I thought Katona won pretty clearly. It was 29-28 for Armfeild. I'm going to be completely honest, I didn't watch this super closely or intently, but regardless, Katona lost in the judges' eyes, 29-28 on all scorecards. I didn't check which rounds they gave to him, but in my opinion, he did enough in all the rounds. I thought that he might have got even a 30-27, but at least 2 rounds to 1, in my opinion. The striking was relatively even. Armfeild was probably landing the more significant shots, but Katona kept getting takedowns and control time when he needed it, I feel like. I know control time on its own doesn't mean a lot, but he got takedowns, and I don't think Armfeild did enough significant things for him to win that fight. But regardless, Katona, again, another Canadian on the card, lost. Very unfortunate for him. The next fight on the card, though, was Movsar Evloev versus Arnold Allen. This was actually a pretty solid fight. Dana White, at the post-fight press conference, said this fight was boring, and that Evloev shouldn't be complaining that people don't like him. I thought this fight was actually pretty fun. Yeah, so let me know in the comments. I thought this fight was good. But regardless, Arnold Allen, Movsar Evloev went to a decision. It was a unanimous 29-28 on all scorecards for Evloev. Interesting. I do think Evloev got it done, but I can definitely see an argument for Allen. The first round was pretty clearly... No, sorry. Second round, clear Evloev. That was the most clear round of the fight. The third round was Allen's, because he was landing great. He landed some illegal knees, which was... apparently they were legal or illegal. I'm not sure, but regardless... the third round still was Allen's. He definitely did way better in that round. But the first round is kind of what it comes down to. I thought Allen didn't do enough with the striking. Like, he definitely was cleaner on the feet. He did land a few better strikes. But I just don't think he looked great enough, like, everywhere. I don't think he did enough damage to outweigh the multiple takedowns and slams that Evloev got, and the control and like the final. He won the last minute of the round, so I was like, yeah, that looks good on in the judges' eyes. And I just don't think, even though Allen landed cleaner shots, like he landed some good head kicks on the guard and that kind of thing, I just don't think any of the shots he landed were like notable enough to be like, whoa, yeah, definitely got that one, definitely won that round on damage. So damage was definitely like slight lean for Allen, but when it's a slight lean on damage, but then one guy does way better with the takedowns and stuff, I don't think it's unreasonable to give him the decision. So he won this fight 2-1. He had a great second round, though. Cut Allen open badly, so he looked good all rounds. Definitely a level up performance, which I predicted. I said Evloev was going to win, even though he was a favorite. I actually feel like more people were picking Allen, to be honest. So I think that was like a 50-50 fight in terms of the people's picks. But regardless, good level up performance from Evloev. Makes Diego Lopez look better and better every time if Evloev wins. So good stuff. He should now be ranked, I think, like number 4 or I think, because Topuria was ranked behind Allen before this, I think what they're going to do is push Topuria up 1 spot, or maybe even 2 spots above Ortega, just cause. And then Evloev's going to be either number 3 or number 4, and I think he'll be number 4 in the rankings. If he's unlucky, he might end up number 5, but I imagine he's going to go to number 4, because I think that's where Allen was. But then I think I could see Topuria and Ortega like swapping spots or something like that. But I don't know. Good stuff for Evloev. He's going to jump up in the rankings. I was saying that if the winner of this got an impressive dominant win, they could have a chance for a title shot. But after this win, didn't seem like Dana was too thrilled with the fight in his post-fight press conference. So I wouldn't be placing any bets that Movzar is going to get a title shot. I think he gets the winner of the winner of Gaia Rodriguez versus Brian Ortega. I think you do the winner of that versus versus Movzar Evloev, and the winner of that could arguably get a title shot, especially if it's Movzar, because he's on the streak. Both Yair and Ortega haven't. They're not on a win streak, but I think winner of that versus Diego Lopez. Why am I saying Diego Lopez? Versus Movzar Evloev, make that fight happen. But the next fight on the card was Chris Curtis versus Marc-Andre Barriault. This was a pretty fun fight. It was a bit kind of cruisy for the first 2 rounds, but they picked it up towards the end, throwing a lot of punches in close. Chris Curtis won this fight, 2 30-27 scorecards, and then a 29-28 for Barriault. I thought it was 2-1 to Chris Curtis. I kind of forget which rounds I gave to him, but I think he did enough over the course of the distance. I heard a split decision. I was like, no way they're going to do another robbery. But he got it done. It was pretty cruisy. He was landing some decent shots. But the clinch strikes at the end were good. Barriault looked like he was kind of getting to Curtis with the pressure a little bit. He was walking him down. So this was actually a good performance from Marc-Andre Barriault. Even though he lost, he had never fought someone close to this level of opposition. Like before this, he'd fought Eric Anders and Julian Marquez. Like he hadn't fought any really high level guys. So fighting a ranked opponent, number 13, great win great performance, but good win from Chris Curtis. I'll give you my pick for who he should fight next in my next video. But the next fight on the card was Neil Magny versus Mike Malott. This was another classic, massive favourite, getting fraud checked and getting broken late in the fight. Neil Magny was getting dominated for the first 2 rounds. Mike Malott was clearly winning. He was on his way to a victory. He was winning the first half of round 3 as well, and then he gets swept. Magny ends up on top. Slams him down. Malott went for a guillotine. It fell out. Slammed him down. Gets on top of him. Gets to mount. And Malott just completely shat himself and just kept getting punched in the face. And he did not know what to do. And yeah, he got smoked. And he got TKO'd by Neil Magny with 10 seconds to go in a fight, which he was winning 2 rounds to nothing. He gets TKO'd and finished by Neil Magny, the Haitian sensation himself. And Magny gets back in the win column after a few tough losses. He's gone kind of 1 for 1 because he lost to Burns, he beat Rowe, lost to Gary, beats Malott, turns back a prospect, but he still looked shit, let's be honest. But it was just kind of funny. This wasn't like a damn Magny's so good, he's still got it. This was Malott was fucking winning, and then he just broke as soon as adversity came his way. Similar kind of story to Bonfim against Nicholas Dalby, if you guys remember that fight. Bonfim was tuning him up for the first round, and then he gets broken, gets takedown stuffed, and then Dalby just kept fucking going at him. and then broke him. So similar kind of vibe there, but good win from Neil Magny. The next fight on the card was the co-main event, and it was 25 minutes of our life that we'll never get back. It was Bueno Silva versus Raquel Pennington. I picked Bueno Silva to win. I was kind of high on her. I thought she was going to do well. I thought all the hype was behind her in terms of if either of them were going to make a statement and have a good performance, it was going to be her. But she won the first round clearly, and she did look like the better fighter when she was fresh, but she just wasn't fresh for very long. She gassed out. She lost 4 rounds to 1 on every judge's scorecard. One judge had the fifth to 10-8. She won the first, and then she kind of just started to gas, kept getting cracked on the feet. Her defense looked terrible, and yeah. Raquel Pennington, now 16-9 record, is the champion of the world. A champion of the world has a record of 16-9 and won their last fight by split decision in the Apex against Ketlen Vieira. What has this division come to? Just cut it from the sport. There's nothing to talk about. Bueno Silva, I kind of wish she won. She was talking a lot. She had some hype around her. She was the only hope of a new person for this division that hadn't already lost to Nunes. But no, because now we've got Pennington's already lost to Nunes. Pena's already lost to her. Aldana's already lost to her. There's just no hope on the horizon. Nunes, just come back. You could literally go in without even training and you could probably still beat these people. They're terrible at fighting. But I don't want to spend any more time talking about this fight. It was awful. But the next fight on the card, much better. The main event, Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis. And new champion of the world, Dricus du Plessis, wins by split decision. Very close fight, razor close fight. I thought Strickland won the fight. Personally, I thought he won either 1-2-5 or 1-3-5. I think there's even an argument that he could have. It's unlikely, but it wouldn't have been awful for him to win 1-2-3-5. I know it doesn't seem like a fight that should be given 4-1 Strickland, but if you look at it objectively, the first and fifth were clear for Sean Strickland, no doubt about it. You cannot score those rounds for Dricus. The fourth was clearly Dricus du Plessis. You can't score that for Strickland. And then the second and third were pretty clearly were very even fights, very even rounds. So I know everyone's gonna hate this take, but if you look at Islam versus Volk, and I hated the 49-46 scorecard for Islam. I thought it was terrible, but I went back and I was like, if you look at it objectively, the first round is clear Islam, the fifth round is clear Volk, the fourth round is pretty clear Islam. The second and third are both very close, so you can give them both to Volk, and then he wins 3-2, or you can give both of those to Islam, and then he wins 4-1. I think that's a very similar situation here with Strickland and du Plessis. Again, clear first round for Strickland, clear fifth for Strickland, clear fourth for Dricus, and the second and third were both razor close. Because I'm hearing people say 1-2-5 Strickland, and then 1-3-5 Strickland. So there's definitely, on verdict, they were both even rounds. So hear me out. It wouldn't be an agreeable scorecard by anyone's eyes, I don't think. But a 4 rounds to 1 scorecard for Strickland, in my opinion, is as warranted as a 4 rounds to 1 scorecard for Islam against Volk. That's just my opinion. But let's stop talking about the scorecard and talk about the fight. It was a crazy fight, great scrap. At moments, it wasn't super barn burner level, but it was just constant kind of intensity and energy. Like, Strickland won the first round, as I said. He was using the jab really well, starting to swell up Dricus' eye a little bit. Dricus got a takedown, but he didn't really do much with it. That was the story of this fight. Dricus got a lot of takedowns, very high percentage. He's a very strong guy, gets a lot of takedowns, but Strickland's get-up game is one of the best in the sport, and I stand by saying he would have beat Khamzat Chimaev, and he still would if he fought him in the future, because I think he can work enough to stop Khamzat from, even if he doesn't get back up, I think he makes Khamzat work so much to keep him down. Like, Dricus du Plessis could not keep Strickland down, and he's a big, strong guy. I know Khamzat's probably a better pure grappler, but I reckon pure strength-wise, Dricus might be stronger than Khamzat. So the first round was great from Strickland, and his get-ups were great throughout the fight. The second round, razor close. I really should have gone back and rewatched the second and third before I made this video. Again, I'm not going to state robbery. I'm not going to scream it from the rooftops. I haven't gone back and rewatched the second and third. I'm going to be completely honest about that. But just off my memory, Dricus again had some success with the takedowns. Strickland landing good jabs. He was landing good shots. Swollen up the eye of Dricus du Plessis, but he also got cut open a little bit. Strickland said it was from a headbutt. Obviously, the judges don't know that. It's hard to see that. So they score that cut as as they do any other visible damage. But I think the swelling of the eye and the cut even themselves out, both even visible damage. And I do think that Strickland did enough in that round. Off my memory, again, don't come at me and say, oh, Dricus actually landed a few big shots. Like, I know, he landed some good shots, but there was no moment in the fight where Strickland looked wobbled or rocked in any way. And I know there was no moment where Dricus looked rocked, but if you take two guys and neither of them look rocked throughout the entire fight, in my opinion, it's about who landed the more cleaner strikes, and I think that was Sean Strickland throughout the second and third round, obviously the first and fifth as well. Again, I'm not saying 4-1 Strickland, but I'm just saying there is an argument for it. Second and third, I kind of confused the two. I forget exactly what happened in each, but just my vague memory of the fight was just Dricus was swinging a lot. He missed a whole lot of shots. Strickland missed a whole lot of shots too. Dricus had success with the takedowns. Strickland was getting back up. Dricus landed some nice body kicks too. That was a good weapon for him. Even landed a couple body shots. I forget which rounds those were in, but I just think throughout the fight, Strickland was clearly pumping the jab. And I know a lot of people say jabs don't win fights, jabs aren't fight-ending shots, but nothing Dricus did rocked Sean Strickland, in my opinion. Strickland didn't look rocked. Dricus looked like he kind of got stumbled a few times. Not rocked by any means, but that's just my opinion. I do think there was definitely... I think you give it to Dricus... Sorry, I think you give it to Strickland. I don't hate it if you give it to Dricus. Dana said he gave it to Strickland. It seems pretty even in terms of the media scores. I know a lot of the fans obviously are going to scream Sean Strickland and say robbery, because we know we love Sean Strickland. I'm not going to call it robbery. I'm going to go back and rewatch the third and the second round, and then I'm going to make my verdict. But yes or no in the chat, or yes or no in the comments, people are differing their opinions on the second and third. That people are saying first, second, and fifth Strickland, and then people are saying first, third, and fifth Strickland. So if people are saying second and third are both razor close rounds, yes, you can give them both to Dricus, and then that means Dricus won the middle 3 rounds and he wins 3-2. Or if they're razor close rounds, you can give them both to Sean Strickland and he wins 4 rounds to 1. Or you can give them 1-1 and then it's 3-2 for Strickland. So in my opinion, I think giving both of them to Dricus, it's not awful. I personally think Strickland won. 4th round, great stuff from Dricus. He got the takedown way better. He cut him open again. He got another bad cut on his eye. But if you just look at the visible damage, Dricus was swollen up. Strickland had a cut, but I feel like cuts open up from single strikes. Strickland got opened up with a cut because the glove scraped his eye. Dricus was just getting constantly punched in the face, and punches swell up your eye gradually. Like, he is swelling up his eye. DDP cut him open with the glove. He got a few shots, but that was like two different inflictions of damage, and then the blood just makes it look worse. Dricus was swollen, but there wasn't as much blood coming from him, so I can see the visible damage looks slightly worse for Strickland, but look at the two of them post-fight. Dricus had a bad cut around his eye, but Dricus' whole face was swollen up, and I do think that's an indication of more consistent damage being done throughout the fight. Again, you can come at me and say second, third, and fourth Dricus. I'm not going to call you stupid. I'm not going to say it's a robbery. It's a razor close fight. I just do think I agree with the sentiment of, like, it's got to be convincing. Like, a split decision win to win the title, in my opinion, is just a little bit iffy. I know you can say, regardless, even if it's not for the title, that was a normal 5-round fight. You can say, oh, he won the fight. But I would like to see a bit more of a convincing, unanimous decision to win the belt. Like, I don't know. I think you got to just give a little bit of an edge to Strickland for landing the more consistent shots throughout. And I said this, though, I kind of had a feeling that Dricus was going to get the nod on the scorecard, solely because I know how they score the fights. I know that they scored Jared Cannonier versus Sean Strickland 4 rounds to 1 for Cannonier on 2 scorecards, because they see the visuals of just this big, muscly guy swinging shots, and half of them ain't landing. A lot of them landed on the shoulders of Strickland, on the, like, ear and stuff, like, on the chest. Like, there was a bunch of shots missing from Dricus du Plessis. So, but it's just the visual. He was on the front foot. But again, read the fucking rules. Forward pressure, octagon control is the last thing you look at. You got to look at damage, and I do think Strickland did more damage. My opinion. But regardless, it was a solid card. Definitely slowed down. There were a bunch of decisions later on. The first 4 fights on the card were all finishes, and then the Taveras City fight after that was fun. And then Katona versus Armfeild, Jourdain versus Woodson were terrible. Allen versus Evloev was fun-ish. Curtis versus Barriault was fun-ish. Magny got a fucking TKO, which is amusing. The women's fight was awful, and the main event was amazing. But we got the next fights to make video coming soon, and a bunch of other shit coming soon. So peace out, guys.